We have another pre-algebra lesson that's another important one that is a very common problem. It's understanding how to combine negative numbers, positive numbers together. And there's a huge issue, like the way people think. Like after a while, I think people memorize it, but the way you understand it is actually, this is the best way to interpret it and visualize how it works. And here's my favorite way to learn it, or teach it even, is to just throw everything out in one kitchen sink, and you can see it's very complicated if you never learned this before. Like, how do you do all these really, really fast? So let's go with the first one, first example. And you have -3 plus 5. And the way I like to interpret it and visualize it is that you start off with -3 on the number line, right? And if you're going plus 5, what happens? Plus 5 means you go to the right of the number line, right? So you go 5 spaces to the right, and you end up at 2, right? So the answer is 2. So if you count, 5 spaces, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you end up at 2. So that's how you do that one. The second one is -3 plus -5. So how do you do -3? How do you interpret that? Well, plus negative is actually the same thing as -5. And it's the same thing, -3 minus 5. Later on, you'll see in algebra, you don't really write plus negative anymore. You always write minus. Always try to get people out of the habit of writing plus negatives. So -3 minus 5. So what happens there? Well, if you're subtracting 5, you go left 5 spaces, right? So instead, from -3, you go 5 spaces to the left, which you'll end up at -8. So you see, that's all it is. It's just a number line, and you understand which direction it goes, and you'll never get it wrong. So if you go 5 spaces left of -3, you'll end up with -8. If you go 5 spaces right of -3, you'll get at 2. Okay? So let's go to the next one, and it says -3 minus 5. Well, that's just the same thing as the last example, right? As I said, plus negative is the same thing as minus. So you start at -3, and you go 5 spaces to the left, which will be at -8. Okay? So let me write this down. So now the next example, -3 minus a negative. So minus negative, what does that mean? When you see minus negative, it always means plus plus. So if you're looking at that, -3 plus 5, guess what it is? It's the first one again. It's the same exact problem. -3 plus 5. Start at -3, move 5 spaces to the right, and you end up at 2. Okay? So now let's start off with a positive number. Instead of -3, now we're starting at 3. Okay? So what happens? 3 minus 5. Okay? So I start off at 3, right here, right? And it says minus 5. What does that mean? It means I'm going left 5 spaces, right? And I'm going minus is always left. So I go 5 spaces left. I'll be at -2, which is the answer. So as you can see, the number line is really, really important. If you visualize the number line, you'll never get it wrong. Right now it's here, 3 minus -5. Remember what we said 2 problems before is 3 minus minus is a plus plus. So minus minus is plus plus, okay? And 3 plus 5 is just 8. That one everyone knows. And that's usually the best way to understand negative numbers. And I'll move on to the next plan. Thank you.